Hello, the game has started. It's me to go first. Well, I have quite a nice rack. It looks close to a bingo, but I don't think there's a 7 here. I think flirt looks like the best opening play. It gets the F doubled and has a decent rack leave. Wow, all vowels, 5 of them in the pickup. Pretty grim. Is this bad enough to change? I think it may be. What on earth am I going to score with this rack? There's only the scoring tile of the F on the board. And it immediately makes me wonder whether there was a better alternative to flirt in the opening move, given that I could have retained. Wow, 90 points for opponent, brutal. Double, and a great spot. So, what am I going to do here? Well, I have Orei, which I think is going to be better than changing. It's 10 points. Yeah, that is just about better than changing, and I don't think I'm going to score any more. I am going with this. Pretty good. That looks close to a bingo. Not sure there's a 7 here. What are the floaters? How about the T? Well, if itemizer is good, I've just blocked that with Orei. How about the C? Well, that looks close, but I'm not seeing one. And there's the N, quite a few floating consonants, and the N is still available. Few, just 13 for opponent. So R or S could go in front of AI, so this rack plus an N. No, not seeing anything. Now, through an S, there's miseries. That doesn't work. Am I sure there's nothing? What about the R? I could have the IER ending. I'm not seeing anything. Coming back to the T. Does itemizer have an anagram, and that may not be good? No. So what am I going to do here? I'm looking to play off the M and the I and keep the board open. Well, this is a spot which does that. A slightly vulnerable rack leave. Would be better if I could play off the C as well. Sorry, the E as well. So I do have AMI in column 3, but that puts an E in the middle of row O, so I'm not a fan of that. This is quite nice. It creates a bingo lane, which is good since I trail. Just pausing in case there is a bingo through the T. It will be quite high probability. No, I'm not seeing it. Okay, I'm going with this. Great, I have Newsia, Wieners, and Wieners. Will I get that down before opponent puts another bingo down? He's got a 60-point lead. So all of my bingos play in column 9. Newsia plays in row N, getting the W tripled. Wow, opponent does bingo, so this isn't looking good. Let me see what Newsia scores. That's 88. Yeah, and there are no double lanes, so I'm not going to score more than this, and it spreads the action all over the board. I am, however, creating a really hot spot in row O, but I don't think Newsia makes a bingo with a B, so nothing's going to score as well as this. I'm going with this. Great, there is hope. I draw the second blank. Rest of the rack, all consonants. But I have Tsar in column 3. That may stay available given the attraction of row O. Can I do any better than that? That's 30 points, which is a good score from a rack with no vowels. But where are the other plays which play off 3 consonants? And that's really what I'm looking to achieve. So Za does everything I want it to achieve. Do I have a play through the I of Newsia? Something ending IZ would be pretty fantastic, but I'm not seeing anything. And through the E, all I can see is les and zel. Wow. Well, good score for opponent. I thought he'd blocked za. He hasn't. So za for 30. Great, I draw a vowel, and that's probably all I need, given that there are vowels on the board. So I have listened in row B and column 13. I am bingoing. However, I also trail by 70 points, so I'm probably going to be trailing even after my bingo. But there is hope. So, what's the best bingo? I have blindest in row A, which I think is good. We'll find out. That gets the D doubled. That's going to be a big score. And opponent surely now attracted to the bottom right of the board. And after blindest, the board, or any of my bingos, the board is still going to be wide open. But all of the blanks and all but one of the S's will have gone. Yes, I was initially wondering about whether flirt was best. 32 points for opponent. I'll come back to that point. So blindest for 86. I don't think opponent has created an opportunity for something better. I think even if there is a play in column 12, it's not going to score as well. Well, now this does look close. What am I thinking of? Anagogi's probably, which is a 9 through an I and an N. That's not available. But I have a Gog and a Goge, which should sort the rack out. These C's are stopping access to the left-hand side of the board, apart from through the E. I trail by 10. No U's left. I was thinking row H quite hot with this Q, but all 4 U's have been played. And all S's have now been played. Apart from the one on my rack. Let me consider the floating consonants on the board in case I have a bingo. I thought I may initially, but that hope has faded. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything with the consonants on the board. No scoring tiles on my rack. Is opponent going to slow down? Now my G can go next to the I of Quinels, as can an X, so that would be a good place for me to play. So, is there a way of playing off an A as well? 38 for opponent. So he's got a good lead. He's got a 50-point lead. I don't have to play off both G's, but a play of a go or goer would be good. Can't see that working in column 10. Is there some play I'm missing in that spot? Duplicate G is not good. Single G isn't terrible. But I really would like to sort this rack out in one go, even if it involves a score sacrifice. And maybe I can open up the left-hand side of the board. "27 tiles in the bag." This J looks pretty protected. Not many plays end in J. So what about placing my G 1 square higher up? And I like this because an X play by opponent would be pretty fatal. And I do want to leave the absolute best possible rack leave, which this is, and I'm not obstructing bingo lanes. I'm going with this. Well, non-bingo-y, I think. I would have seafaring through an R and an N. But that's all I'm coming up with. The F is a non-bingo-y tile, and I have a lot of vowels, including duplicates. But, wow, underneath the eye of blindest is an F spot. So simply playing FA in that spot would be half decent. I want to keep the board open. I still trail by 33 points with opponent on turn. One eye to come. I'm looking at the QI spot. So where else can my F go? Arf is good. Now, what about the Eye of Newsia? Do I have anything which goes under HE? I don't, apart from the S, and that doesn't allow an F play. Nothing ending in J from my rack. There are a few words which do end in J. Svaraj and Swaraj and Basij. But I'm away from any of those, and they're certainly not worth fishing for. Eye of Cis Luna available for my F. Can't get that to play twice. Now, opponent's played. He did have an X. Wow, fantastic. That was blocked. 3 O's to come for XO, and I don't have any of them. And opponent's taken my F spot. That is irksome. And opponent's play is nice. It scores well for him, and it takes out a ton of useful floaters, as well as opening up a good scoring spot for a non-bingo, which benefits him. So, is there a way of opening up the left-hand side of the board? I don't particularly want to hang on to the G. The reason I hung on to it last term was because my rack was swamped with vowels. It still is to some extent. And I do want to play off the F. 13 minutes on my clock. So I have FA down here, 21 points. That's not very many. Can I do any better? And this rack leave isn't great, although it does go well with the art. Let me check the remaining vowels. 11 out of 28. Interesting. This rack does go well with the R, and if opponent's got an O, he's likely to take the XO spot, leaving the R alone. The trouble is that opponent's play of XO has really left the only floaters as being E and R. So if opponent blocks those, suddenly there are no floaters on the board and I trail. So it really would be a good time to open the board up. How can I do that? And I need to do it in a way which plays off F and A, and which isn't ridiculous in terms of providing easy scoring for opponent. So I have Fizz in row K, but that leaves double A on my rack. Far in row M doesn't score enough. I'm certainly looking to score about 20 points, given that that's available bottom right. I think I'll leave the QI spot alone because column 12 is available as a 7-letter lane. It would just be nice to play off more tiles, and, well, there's no point in hanging on for an R because they've all been played. And I'm looking bottom right. I think that's the only way of getting the F doubled and the play tripled. 11 minutes on my clock. So this triple letter square to the right of the I in Cis Luna, only available for FII plays. There are none. So should I play FA? I think I will, because I just can't see a way of opening up the left-hand side of the board this turn. Maybe I will next turn. So FA for 21. Wow, and I draw B and V. So I don't have a bingo through the R. I miss an O. But right now, I'm still a bingo's reach from opponent. So now I'm looking great. Well, opponent's left 2 hot spots alone. He has taken out a 7-letter lane. He hasn't scored very much. I am now looking to open up the left-hand side of the board, but it's hard because I definitely want to play off the V and the B. And I don't want to play verb. It doesn't score very much, and it takes out my bingo lanes. The I is no longer useful because opponent has taken the Q spot. But if I play Biz in row K, then I'm keeping V and G, which is not great. Gosh, I'm just an E away from Besiege, and all these E's to come. Interesting. What would Besiege score? 48 points. Interesting. So, what I would need to do is play off VG or VG and I. Gosh, I have Vigia in row F, but that burns the A I need for Besiege, and there's only one A to come. So VG and I. Where would those play? Just not seeing anywhere. Look, I'm looking in column 9 because Van is good. So I could play, this is super fishy, I could play Vagi for 8, giving me 3 fishes for an E. If I get 8, 297, I trail by 62. I feel I need to be scoring more with this play. Do I have anything down from EX? What about just playing VG? 11 points. Well, Vagi's got to be better. So, Vagi here, 16 points. I'm burning the A. That's the problem. 7 minutes on my clock, 16 tiles to come. Really tricky. So, this is the fishy play. 8 points to then get 48 points is 56 points. And the alternative to that is just scoring 25 points on 2 successive moves. And I'm really struggling here because V and B and G are a pretty gruesome triplicate. And even retaining the B is grim. It's pretty non-bingo-y. And I do want to open up the left-hand side of the board. If I play Vagi here, it invites a play down onto the A, which takes out the E and the R. Let me check the remaining vowels. 9 out of 23, and there are no I's to come. I'm going to play Vang, which retains the I. I'm going with this. And I have baddies, but I don't think there are any 7-letter S lanes. Opponent has blocked the lane with Vi. And opponent has now taken out all of the single floaters, so I'm in a pretty grim position, and I don't have an O for XO. Opponent probably does. So, what am I going to do here? 6 minutes on my clock. I trail by 90 points, which is a huge amount. I do have the final S. And Besiege is just not going to score enough. ER is quite a nice 2-letter set. But I'm not seeing anything with this rack. But if I play off just B and D, I have quite a nice rack, but the trouble there is just scoring a low amount. Look at this, opponent got 25 points for heap, I got 8 for Vang. So where can I... Well, if I play off the B, I no longer have Besiege, but it's not a bingo-y tile. ER is useful. Still can't see a way of opening up the left-hand side of the board. No R's to come. Otherwise I could play Abid. Four minutes on my clock. I'm thinking about playing Biz, but that just provides scoring opportunities for opponents and leaves me with a poor rack. So DIB maximises my chances of bingoing through ER. I'm going with this. Okay, so K, not bingoing. 8 tiles to come. Opponent does have the O, creates a new lane, but he's scoring so well he can now survive a bingo. And he's obstructed or taken out ER as an available floater, so that's a great play by him. No bingo on my rack, nothing beginning with E. Where can I get value from the K? Just 2 tiles in the bag, so my race is run. I'm going to play keys, then that's 19 points, and I have the S for skis, and I'm emptying the bag. And I still don't have the tiles for a bingo. That was a grim pickup, M and Y. Can't see anything beginning with E. Yeah. So not seeing anything with this rack. But M and Y are good scoring tiles, so maybe I'll be able to score more than 20 points somewhere. Exo takes an N only, I don't have one. Den takes a Y, so I've got MY in row D. That stays available. Opponent's got EELO. Is he going out with that? Possibly not. Now, do I have a 6-letter play ending with S? That's likely to score more than MY. No, not seeing one. So if I play MY, I've then got dates in column 2. This is 34 points, which is quite good. Do I have a column 15 play? I think I do. I think I have MIDs for 45. And now I should be able to go out with AD, but it's not going to be enough. I have AT in row D. Also in column 6, and 2 minutes on my clock. Opponent has 12. And is this now 17 for opponent? So I do have one last turn. Let me see what the most I can score for AT is. So I have that in column 6 for 12 points. 16 for at and dent. I think I can take the rest of the board fairly quickly. Yeah, Taj is good, but that doesn't score as much as this, so at 416. And the final score, 393 for me, 465 for my opponent, a winning margin of 72 points, so well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. And it was me to go first, and I played Flirt. So what would have been the alternative? I guess Riff, R-I-F, keeping List. That would be dropping 12 points. I think Flirt is the better play. But it was perfect for opponent and a great spot of Cis Luna. I have an awful rack, and my options, I think it's these top two options look best. And they'll be close to changing, but I don't think they'll be worse than changing. Opponent's rack plays Awa. Now, phew, no miss bingo here. I was just waiting for one to pop up. And I play MI for 15, keeping double E-I-R-S, M6, Emir keeping EIS, probably a better play, but very little in it. The R definitely helps EIS, and the final E isn't terrible. Now, great rack for opponent. Plays Bergamot, and opponent is now 140 points in the lead. I have Newsia for 88. Wieners, B9. Wow, look at that. Wieners plays parallel to Bergamot for the same score. Interesting. That would probably have been a better play, but it's difficult to say given that I trail. Opponent's rack. No bingo, looks close, plays up Torn. And I play Tsar for 30, M7, just playing the Z, Ms and Z, scores 45, an extra 15 points, but keeping two more consonants, so I actually prefer my play. Or do I? I think I do. Although not necessarily, because there are floating vowels on the board in Bergamot and Newsia, and I have the blank, so maybe Ms would have been better. Opponent's rack plays Quinoles, and now I get a bingo down, Blindus for 86. This gave me hope. I'm just 10 points behind after being 140 adrift. Now opponent plays Hadge, and I feel that I'm back to being a bingo behind. What do I do here? I play Goa for 15. Yeah, keeping Sage. 6 more points on offer, but keeping 3 vowels, so I prefer my play. Opponent's rack. Wow, look at this. Opponent plays... I was going to say he had the O for EXO, but he burns it in playing EXO. So he did have the option of playing X and just EX and retaining the O. Now, I trail by 70. My rack, no bingo here. And I think this is where I entered a sequence of moves where I was struggling to balance the rack and also looking to open the board and not finding anywhere. G12, FIE for 23 points. Not a good rack leave. I prefer my play. So, yeah, AEGIS. Not a great rack leave, but it does go well with this R. Opponent's rack plays Vi, and now I had an awful pickup. Vibe, that's nice. K9. Vibe and Mib. Yep, I think that would have been worth doing. Yeah, definitely worth doing. Vang was far inferior. Now opponent's rack plays Heap, and really opponent with that play is shutting the door on an awful lot of my hopes for coming back into the game. E and R are really good bingo floaters. So I have baddies, nowhere for it. And I play Dib, but D6, dab available. Yeah, I think this point difference is so big that bad would have been a better play. Now, opponent's rack plays denote, and we're in the pre-end game, 2 tiles in the bag. And I play keys to create a bingo lane. Opponent plays toy. And Mateys was available in column 2 for 46 points. I play Emides for 45. And I think Emides better. I think I'm going to score more with AT than with just D. But probably very little between those two. No out for opponent, plays Lou. And finally at D11, that was my play. So, what a game. I got off to, well, a bad start in the sense that opponent got off to a great start with Sis Luna, followed up by Bergamot 2 moves later, and I was 140 points behind, but I came back with Musia and Blindust and felt that I was within a bingo of opponent for a large part of the second half of the game, but it never materialised, and opponent shut the door on the bingo lanes in Bergamot, and really that was the end of the game. So absolutely fantastic performance by opponent. Many congratulations on his victory, and thanks to him for a good battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.